As Hashem Yisparach, we're going to continue now with what we started to discuss last week, and that was how we date and why we date the way we do. So I started last week discussing the importance of establishing your hashkafah and getting your hashkafah straight first. That's where we're going to start from now. In the shidduch world, so there's you have a resume. Maybe we'll talk about resume a different time, but the very beginning of a shidduch, the very beginning of a suggestion of who to marry, goes based on who you are, where you're going, what do you want to do with your life. Versus in the secular world, the first thing is physical attraction. Yes, there's such a thing called a blind date. A blind date is, as it sounds, I don't know anything about this person. Certainly, I don't know what they look like. People don't like blind dates. They're very uninterested in blind dates, as I find in the secular world. Yeah, really, we do not date first and foremost based on looks, because if you would, what would happen is then many times the physical aspect, which we'll get to, it is important, will take center stage. It will be the most important thing, and many times a person can be totally blinded by that. Totally blinded. The first thing that we need to know is that these two people are hashkafically compatible. That is the first and most important thing, because it is the least important once you see the person. Once there is some kind of connection made, whether the connection is being a physical connection or it's being a personal connection, those things, the hashkafas, fall on the side. That's what happens. If it's not done first, it may not be done at all. And it's the most important part of life. The most important part of life is your marriage. And the most important part of your marriage is that you're on the same page with what you want to do with your life. A person has to marry somebody that they're on the same path, not going in different directions, going in the same direction. Yeah, unfortunately, that happens sometimes when two people meet. They're holding exactly in the same place. It happens to be they're going in different directions, though. When you meet somebody in the street and you're going one way and they're going the other way, so that meeting lasts a very, very short span of time. Both people have places to go and they're in opposite directions. So they meet someplace, they'll talk for a minute, and then they'll move on. They're not meant to be going together. When you're getting married, you have to know the person that I'm marrying is going together with me on the journey of life, not going in the opposite direction that I met on the road one time. Yes, we're going to meet a lot of people on the road of your life. You'll meet a lot of people. You meet people that you never thought of. You meet people who are not Jewish. You meet all kinds of people. But are you going in the same direction as them? Are you going on the same path as them? You need to know that you're going on the same path as somebody. And that's why the first thing is that has to be settled, that has to be structured. That is, we know we're going on the same path. And that's before the issues of looks, attraction, and the ability to make a personal connection with somebody. Because all of those things have the ability to blind a person. You can meet somebody and you hit it off right away. You can feel there's chemistry. You can feel there's a connection over here, but you don't know anything about the person. You don't know, and really that's what happens in the secular world. In the secular world, two people meet each other at a fill-in-the-blank bar, restaurant, at work, party. Two people. The first thing is looks. The first thing is attraction. That already is enough to blind somebody for doesn't make a difference. I know what I see I like. You don't see anything. All you see is surface. You don't know what's beyond. Okay, and it's very easy when you already start to see a face like that for people in the secular world to start talking to each other in inappropriate ways, because why not? It's fun. Yeah, flirting with each other. and that makes a person feel good. It makes a person feel excited, and you feel like, wow, we're really, creating something, some kind of connection over here. When also it's very, very surface, very shitchi, and a relationship can start like that, and the relationship revolves around having a good time. I even overheard one time a guy on the phone. I guess it was with his girlfriend, and my assumption based on what I heard in this overheard, I should say, during this conversation, was that she was getting pressure from her parents, maybe to get married, and he's telling her, just tell them we're having a good time, and that's it. Just tell him we're just having a good time. No, that's it. That's all. We're having a good time. Yeah. Basically, what that means is that there's no real deep connection over here. We're just having a good time. We're just having fun. We're not interested really in anything more than that. Nobody thinks really in the secular world, in basically any Western country. Yeah, they want to have fun for who knows how long. They don't want to get stuck, getting married and having a family. Wow, that's a lot of responsibilities. That's a lot at a certain point. After having whatever fun they had, somewhere in the range of late 30s, 40s, where they realize that they might not be able to have children after another few years. So at that point, okay, I already had my fun. Now I have to get married. Why? Because I won't have the pleasure now of being married and having a child until if I don't do it now. Yeah, that relationship is not necessarily the best relationship. The girl that person decides to marry is not necessarily the best of all the relationships that he's had. Not necessarily. He feels pushed at this point to get married, and the same thing with her. They feel pushed. I remember being at the park, in a different city, and I was with my kids, my wife and my kids, and there was a much older couple. I was certain that they were older than me, and had this one little kid, probably maybe 2 or 3 years old. That's it, one little kid. Yeah, that's what it is. That's what happens, because everything leading up to this was just have a fun time, and even this relationship probably started like that too. It's just that they felt like, okay, I have to get married. We don't do things like that. Because for us, the most important thing is that we can build a home together. That we can build something meaningful together and make a real life together based on common goals. And that's why the most important thing is know that first. Know what all that means first. How do you do that? First of all, you do that by speaking out what you want, which we discussed already. And then letting people who, sometimes it's your friends. When I was dating, it was much more common for your friends or older friends or bonim, whatever, to suggest you things. Nowadays, a lot more shadchanim or shadchaniyot involved with this stuff. Express to them who you are, where I'm going, what kind of girl I want, what kind of family I want, or what kind of life I want, and then they have the ability and they have the resources to find the person they think, lav dafka it's going to be the first try or second try or 20th try, but they are going to try to set you up with a person that is matim on this level, the most important basic level. Once we find, and obviously they make mistakes too. That's 100%. People make mistakes, which is why you're supposed to check to see if they're right, which is why there are references. There are phone numbers. There are people you're supposed to call in order to find out the questions that you want answered. I remember years ago where a student of mine asked me, he didn't have anybody to help him with this, and so he asked me to make some phone calls for him of references. So I did, and then I was shocked by some of the things that I was told, and people were very clear about the way this girl was. She's so sarcastic. We were so mean together. It was amazing. Yeah, like, wow. You have somebody actually says that on the phone to you. That's quite remarkable, right? But you're supposed to be checking things out. You're supposed to be checking out what you want, because you can't ask somebody, is she pretty? The reason why is because you'll decide if she's pretty. You'll decide. That's something that you don't need to ask.
Or anything.
Right? But in terms of hashkafah, you need to start with this. Now, when we get into what you're supposed to be doing on the dates, which is not going to be tonight, we'll talk about how you can't just rely on the things that you heard either. It's enough to go out, to hear things that sound like they're in the same direction that I am, but you cannot rely on that. You must, during the first initial dates, talk about this stuff in order to know for sure, because it's very clear many times that, like I said, shadchanim or shadchaniot make mistakes, and really the person that's sitting across from you does not want the same things that you want, which is why the last step is you talk about what's important to you when you're on a date. But we're not going to talk about that today. That's the first and the most important. I shouldn't say the most important necessarily, because all of them are important, but we need to have this as a base. We need to have it as a base. Otherwise, you're starting off totally on the wrong foot. The next stage after that is looks, attraction. Now, nowadays, there's a thing of pictures, having a picture together with a resume. I happen to think that is wrong. I don't think it's right, for a number of reasons. First of all, it's not a tznuah thing. It's not a tznuah thing to start giving out, girls' pictures. Once these things are out, they get spread around to all kinds of people. It's not okay for her. It's not okay. Why can't she ask for a picture for his picture? I want to see his picture too. When it comes to looks, when it comes to the way you see the other person, it is very important to marry somebody that you find attractive. That's why there's a halacha that you cannot get married with unless you see her. You can't see her. You have to see her in order to get married. You have to. Because if the first time you see her is after you're married and she doesn't look attractive, well, that's going to ruin your marriage. It's very clear that you might have to find a girl attractive, but not just from a picture. A picture is going to tell you whether or not she's really attractive. No, it won't. Because sometimes the picture is over the top in either direction. It could be, wow, she took this picture when she was at a wedding, at her sister's wedding, when she was super done up, and then you meet her on the date, and you're like, this is not the same girl. This is not the same girl that I got the picture of. I don't know what picture was, but this is not the same girl. Or it could be the picture is not very flattering. It's not really such a great picture. Why did they choose this picture? I don't know. Many times they do look different. There's also a certain chen, in English, some kind of charm. There's a certain feeling that you get when you're with the person versus looking at a picture of the person. Many times people don't actually look the same. It could be an old picture. It could be a picture from 2-3 years ago. We can't rely on a picture. And you shouldn't rely on a picture. Both to say yes and to say no. You can't say, wow, everything sounds great, but I hate the picture. I can't go out with her. Terrible. You shouldn't have looked at the picture in the first place. Why'd you do that? Not only that, but there are many times, that the first second a person, a man sees her, he sees her, and he says, no. I've heard that. A guy said to me, the date was over in 3 seconds. I already knew after 3 seconds that's terrible. That's terrible. Why?
1 second.
Because
saw a picture before
when he knocked at the door, I knocked on the door, and she came out. Right then, the date was over. Yeah. Why? Because he said right away she's not pretty, or not pretty to him. It's a terrible thing to do. The reason is because he didn't even give her a chance at all. Nothing. He already was in his mind. Okay, I gotta, just to be a mensch, I have to spend the next hour and a half or whatever it is with her, 2 hours. Because, I'm not going to be a jerk and just turn around and leave right now. Yeah, that wouldn't be so nice. So, and plus I'll get a bad name myself. Yeah, the shadchanim will stop setting me up. So I can't, that's a terrible, terrible thing. You didn't give her a chance at all. Already in your head, Already in your head is no. Therefore, no matter what happens on this day, it's already no. It's already no. Guys can come back, yeah, you know what? I actually had a good time, but no. Why? If you had a good time, no. No. Because I decided no after 3 seconds. I decided no. It's terrible. Many times that I'll talk to a guy after first date. And how'd it go, this and that. Yeah, we had a great time. It was really nice. We talked a little hashkafah. Really sounds okay. One problem, I didn't necessarily find her so pretty. I didn't find her so pretty. So what should I do? Go out again. You had a good time? Besides for that, you had a good time? Yeah? Okay. Go out again. And then he's smart and he listens, so he goes out again. After the second date, okay, what happened? Well, this and that, and and I have to bring it up. And I said, what about how she looks? He didn't even mention it at all. I said, oh, that's not a problem. Like, what happened? After the first date, all of a sudden, not a problem. This has happened many times. He's like, come on, Rabbi, that never happens to anybody. It happens all the time. Why?
Because it cancels it out.
Because you get to know the person. And when you get to know the person, it's not just a face. It's not just a body shape. It's a person. And when you're marrying a person, you're marrying a whole person. And there's depth to this person. And you're starting to talk to the person. And all of a sudden, hey, you know what? There's something very special over here. I heard a story from my Rebbe many years ago. I probably heard it more than once. It's kedai to bring out this point. This story, my Rebbe told us, I don't know if he told us in the public forum, probably was. He said there was a certain bacher this bacher was very makbid on looks. Very makbid. He would only take top, nothing less than supermodel level, yeah? Nothing less than that, yeah? He was so picky, he drove the shadchanim crazy, and he was single for a long time, and finally he got engaged. Wow, unbelievable! You have to imagine what this girl looks like, yeah. And he went to see my Rebbe. He wanted to bring his kala to her, and he did. And this kala was not only was she not that level, but she maybe even wasn't what would be called, let's say, a level a bit lower than that. It wasn't even that. Yeah. And when he went, my Rebbe said afterwards, he said, I know what you're thinking. I know what you're thinking. He said, we've had a lot of talks over the time that I've been dating. You should know that she's fantastic. She's amazing. I can't. I'm so lucky that she agreed to marry me. I'm so happy. And this was a guy who was beyond, it was not normal, his hakpadas. Why? The reason why is because there's so much more. And I am sure that this guy finds her attractive. 100%. I'm sure he does. There's no way that any guy can get engaged or married without thinking that his kala wife is attractive. No way. There's no such thing. Yeah? But to say after seeing a picture, or to say after seeing her face for the first time ever, yeah, when you meet her for the first time on the date, to say, oh, forget it, it's over, that's wrong, it's not fair, and you're only shooting yourself in the foot. Because really, there is an opportunity over here, and don't waste it. Don't waste it, try it out, and give it a shot. Yes, it is true that at the end, you really are trying personality, and at the end, everything sounds good, but I cannot marry this girl. I really don't find her pretty. Then don't. You don't have to. Nobody's saying that you have to suffer the rest of your life. I know a very chashuv person, who told me that when he was dating this girl, and everything, all the things were good, hashkafah and pretty and everything. There was one thing, he couldn't stand her voice. That's it. One thing he couldn't stand her voice. He said it would have been great if she would never talk the entire marriage. Yeah. Now, since that's not realistic, they didn't get married. Yeah. This is a very big person, a person I respect tremendously. And he said I couldn't marry this girl because I couldn't stand her voice. Couldn't stand it. Every person has their own personal, in terms of looks or attraction, can have their hashkafahs. You can. At the end, you did a good try. You put in effort. You didn't just blow it off in the first second. You really put in effort. You really have the right at the end of the day to say there's no attraction. Obviously, a girl has the right to say that too. Wow, he's great. He's a super mas, but the guy is a schlump. I can't marry him. The guy he doesn't have proper hygiene or whatever. She doesn't find him attractive either. She also has the right to do that, for sure. Even if everything else seems very good, it's just that attraction shouldn't be the first thing, because if it is, you're going to lose sight of everything else. And the last of the three is personality. Can you get along with a person? And the reason why I'm saying the last is because it takes the most time to develop. The first, the hashkafah, you should know a lot about the hashkafah even before you start dating. And then within the first few dates, talk much more seriously about hashkafah. Attraction, usually within the first date or it's the first 2 dates, you already know if the attraction is good. Personality, do we get along? Can we talk? Can we have both light talk, be able just to schmooze, to be able to get along with each other? Do we have the ability to, or do we agree when we talk a little bit deeper? Do we feel like, this is something that I enjoy seeing her. I enjoy spending time with her. That's something that might take a little bit longer. Sometimes it's after 1 or 2 dates is like that. Sometimes it takes a third date to know if that's something that's going to be matim. These are the stages. This is what you need to know in order to get married. And it has to be in that order. It has to be in that order. Well, to have a successful marriage, yes. People can get married for all kinds of things, yeah. I did say one time to another professional, I said, not everybody gets divorced. Some people just have dysfunctional marriages. It's true. It's true. It's sad, but it's true. Anyway, coming back to what I was saying, the madav doima, Marshall. Imagine if you had a jar. You had a big jar. And in the jar, somebody gave you a project, yeah? I want you to fit all of the following items in this big jar, yeah? The first are these big rocks. The second are smaller rocks. The third is little pebbles. The fourth is sand. And the last thing on the list is water. Yeah? What should you do? What do you do first? You put the big rocks in first. Because if you don't put the big rocks in first, if you put everything else in, the big rock ain't going to fit. It's not going to fit. You have to put it in order. You have to do the right order. If you don't do the right order, you're going to be left with a lot of things left out. Yeah, do you know what the first thing is? Put the sand in first. Yeah, the sand in the water. Put the sand and the water in first.
Mud.
You're not gonna be able to fit the big rocks in for sure. If you try to get the big rocks in, they're gonna be sticking out, and then even the little rocks are not gonna be able to fit in. You're gonna have a lot of space in there, and you're not gonna be able to fit everything else in because it wasn't put in the right way. You can get everything that you want. All the things that you want, you can get. You just gotta do it in the right order. You do it in the right order, so then you can. There's no reason not. Now, I want to make a very, very important point over here. A very important point. And this very, very much relates to all of this. When we discussed hashkafah, physical attraction, personality, the one thing that's extremely important is that there should not be any physical touch. Not at all. Being Shomer Negiah is so important when it comes to these things. And there are two main reasons for it. Besides, actually, the third reason is the most important, which is halacha. We have to keep halacha. Every single girl above the age of 12 has a chazaka of being a nida, unless she's a goy. Yeah, in which case there are other issues. Or she's an ashes ish, or she's your grandmother. So lemaisa, there's certainly an isser deraisa, and I'm not going to ignore that. But some people who, for whatever reason, choose to ignore that, there are two other big reasons to not touch. Two very big reasons. And this is not just something that I have to say because I'm the rabbi. The rabbi has to say that, right? Because of the first reason. I've heard this from my own Talmidim. That my own Talmidim have spoken to people who they themselves have not been Shomer Negiah, and they warned him to be Shomer Negiah. And when I said to him, well, you believe them and you don't believe me? Why? That's not fair. Because I wear a hat and jacket? That's why? The reason? Because I have a beard? That's why you believe them? So one of them said to me, this is a few people, it wasn't just only one person, said, yeah, they're the ones who are suffering from it. So I believe them. They're suffering because of this. And that's why I believe them. You're just saying it because you know it's true. They're saying it because they experienced that it's true. Okay, so if you want to don't take my word for it, you can take their word for it. Because they're going to say the same thing. There are two big reasons. Number one is that once there's physical touch, the ability to be more reasonable, to choose whether or not this is the right person for me, jumps out the window. Once there's a physical touch, there's a physical relationship between two people, it totally blinds a person to whether or not this is actually the right person for me. Because that physical touch can make an incredible kesher between two people, even when it's not matim. And people will decide to marry somebody because they have that kesher, even though it's really not matim at all. And they're going to suffer in the future because of that. So why throw away your whole life because you can't control yourself for a little bit? It's not worth it. That's the first reason. The second reason, similar to the first, but a little bit different, is that there's something that happens when two people who are not supposed to touch each other. There's a chedek called the Yetzer Hara. The Yetzer Hara wants to get people to do averos. So he puts a little spice into doing an isser. That spice is called isser. It's called illicitness. Yeah? Chazal referred to it as mayim genuvim yimtokum. Stolen waters are sweet. The water tastes exactly the same. It's the same water if you would pay for it in the makolet, and if you shoplift it from the makolet, you steal it from the makolet. It's exactly the same water. So what does it mean? Mayim genuvim yimtokum. Why the stolen waters are sweet? It's not the water that's sweet. It's the isser that's sweet. There's a certain geschmack that comes from isser. So the geschmack that comes from isser only comes when there's isser. So what happens is, if somebody is not Shomer Negiah, and somebody, they create, a man, a boy and a girl create some kind of physical relationship before they're married, even if they get married afterwards, that isser is gone. The isser disappears. Now they're married. There's no isser. But together with the isser is also the taste of the isser. That excitement of isser is not around anymore. And the couple is left lacking. What happened? What happened to the excitement? What happened to the fun? What happened to all that? Where did that go? It was only there because of the isser. If there's no isser, so then it's just not there. And then a person feels down. They feel like they're missing something. And that is not very good for their marriage. They thought that through this other person, I was going to get an incredible amount of pleasure, and now they're very disappointed, and they're going to be disappointed for the rest of their life, unless they learn how to fix this, which is going to take a lot of hard work. A lot of hard work. Therefore, for these two reasons, really it's three reasons, it is not kedai. A person is putting themselves at a tremendous disadvantage by doing this. Yes, it is hard. Yes, the Yetzer Hara is pushing me. Oh, Rabbi, we're engaged already. We're getting married in 3 weeks. So you can't wait 3 weeks? You're going to ruin your life because you can't wait for 3 weeks?
The reverse psychology, or at least like the prohibition of the
We'll be talking for it later.
Okay, we'll come back to it. Think about it, okay?
No, I know what I'm trying to say.
Okay, fine. Anyway, I think we're getting close to the end of this year now. Anyway, we're holding by past 30 minutes already now. This is just to make a sikum. Yeah, this is how proper dating should be done. Proper dating should be done, first of all, like we said, hashkafah. We understand the hashkafah. Number 2, you need to have attraction, which again, usually you find out after at least 1 or 2 dates, maybe 3 dates, not more than 3 dates, for sure not. If the person has an issue with attraction, if you don't have attraction by the end of the 3rd date, certainly you cannot continue. Certainly not. Yeah. If there's no physical attraction, you don't find her pretty. Sometimes it's after the 2nd date, but it should not really be after the 1st date. And then getting to know each other, being able to talk to each other. That is the proper order of dating. As Hashem, we will, and of course, the side point of not having any negiah, not having any physical connection during the dating process or the engagement process at all is so crucial to creating a successful marriage in the future, and therefore that aspect should not be at all. Some people think, unfortunately, or in the secular world, they think I need to have that physical connection before I get married. No, it's specifically not that way. You can only have that connection after you get married, because that's when it can be real. Before that, it's not real. Before that, it's the Yetzer Hara playing games and giving you an extra sense of pleasure, when really it's just going to end up biting you. Okay, so Be'ez Hashem, in the coming shurim, we will talk about what should you be doing on a date, on the 1st date, 2nd date. Stop over here.